I'm your host, Jill McPherson. On today's show, we will be talking about the origin of human consciousness. If you're a fan of the famous speaker and author Deepak Chopra, then you're going to love today's show. My guest is not Deepak, but perhaps the next best thing. Allow me to introduce Atul Kumar Mehra, a published author, international speaker, and a registered psychotherapist here in Ontario. He has participated in moderated panel discussion videos with Dr. John Gray, the well-known author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He's been a guest speaker on hundreds of TV and radio shows, as well as a keynote presenter for national and international conferences. Welcome, Atul.
Thank you very much, Jill, for this opportunity.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. I mean, we met some years ago, and our paths have crossed again. So that's lovely. Since I have seen you last, though, you have written a book,
Yes.
and I'm quite impressed. The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn.
Thank you.
Let's just actually get right into that. Tell me about the book.
So I was always very much fascinated by how the baby is formed in womb.
Okay.
Because especially when I was 9 years old and my mother was pregnant with my baby brother, so my grandmother used to say, hey, don't watch those, bad kind of movies, don't have negative thoughts, it's going to impact the baby. So that created a curiosity, and today it ended up in this book. So this book talks about how the first impressions what baby has in mother's womb dominates the rest of his life.
Wow.
So although we think that we are living a conscious life or analytical life and we have freedom, but underneath these parts are controlling and we do not have access to that analytically. But if we are induced into a kind of relaxation state, then we can consciously access to those parts of our brain and we can change the complete life, and we have possibilities to say goodbye to diseases, and we can change the lot of information and we can have a complete better life.
Okay. So let's make this simple. So you're saying that when we're in our mother's womb, that things that we're exposed to can greatly impact us. We take that into our human experience, and then we might have areas of struggle, whether it's illness or some other
positive
challenge,
or negative, yeah.
Right? And you're saying that some of those struggles can come from an experience you had while in womb that you obviously wouldn't have conscious awareness of.
Absolutely.
Right. And until we kind of grasp some sort of conscious awareness of it,
Absolutely.
we can't free ourselves of it. Is that
exactly? Yeah, and it's not some, I will say more than 90%. With the research I have done 20 years and Dr. Werner Meinhold in Germany, so there we have scientific evidence of that. That's why now there is so much research being done in babies' formation. And with more than 10,000 sessions I have done, hundreds and thousands of people, I have attended more than 20 years. I have been witness of so much miracles, but those miracles were created by them. They themselves created those miracles because they themselves created those diseases. So everything is inside you.
right?
All the answers are inside you. All the questions are inside you.
So this takes a whole new look at illness. I mean, in our Western society, there's a lot of ideas that, we're existing in this body and just hope that it functions well for us. And when it doesn't, go and surrender your body to somebody with a white jacket and say, what do I need to do? What medication do I need to take? What surgery, do you need to do to remove something? And then keep on going, hoping that the body will function for you. And if it doesn't, hard knocks, like too bad, bad luck. But you're saying that a lot of this we have conscious control over.
Yes.
Or if not all, you're just saying that we manifest our illnesses.
Yes. First of all, I've got nothing against those white coats.
Right.
If they are necessary, you need to go, but that's first step.
Right.
Then you need to understand the origin of it. So imagine, in order to understand it more, so let us say there is a person, so let us say the movie. So in movie, when I put the camera very near, let us say when the camera is focused very near,
Right. Close up.
close up, it creates kind of horror movie, right? So when we have the trauma on us, we feel, oh my God, because camera is very, very near focused. So this is what they do in horror movies, and it creates something is going to happen. Now imagine that camera has gone a little bit broader,
Right.
right? So it means now that trauma is not on me. I can see the other person who is causing. So sometimes we are watching movie and we say, hey, look, that person is coming behind you. He is going to hit you.
Right.
But now understand the third part, which is the director part. All the characters are there.
Right.
And then we know, oh, it is not a trauma at all. It is not a horror movie at all. It's just a fantasy. So the same thing happens with us. We need to make broaden that angle which we are living.
Right.
So we have physiology of a disease, then we have a psychology of a disease, and then we have a spirituality of a disease.
Right. So get rid of this sort of tunnel vision of ourselves and our story, and broaden it to see a much larger picture
Awareness.
of awareness.
Exactly.
Right. So using your movie analogy, rather than being sort of a character traumatized in a movie,
Absolutely.
take a deep breath and realize
Exactly.
see it from the director's perspective.
Exactly. There you are. That's what the spirituality of life is.
Okay. So you talk about different levels of consciousness. So in that, so what's the first level?
So if we look at the consciousness, for me, consciousness is totality, because consciousness is infinite. Whatever an individual person or a group of person or 7,000 million people in the world collectively talk about consciousness, it's still very less. So I would say awareness, because awareness for me is small segments which I take or what I do. So I can take complete human awareness, because consciousness would be knowing everything, whatever happens in universe, whatever happened there. Like I know everything about you, what's happening in your body, so that, and all the 7,000 million people in the world and universe and planets, etc., etc. So small segments. So consciousness, awareness is small segments of consciousness which helps us to take awareness of this very moment. Let us say if I think about sunset, I taking awareness of sunset. If I give hug to my daughter and I feel those sentiments, I'm taking awareness of that love. If I have pain for XYZ reason, then I feel my body is having that pain, I'm taking awareness of it. So that awareness accumulated takes us to.
So are you saying, like, oh, I mean, that sounds to me like just being in the present moment.
Exactly.
Being,
There you are.
being conscious
Now and here.
of the here and now.
No, that's right. Time
and
and
that
space.
in the here and now, everything exists.
Absolutely.
And so now that's what you're talking about, this whole consciousness is everything
Absolutely.
that's happening here and
Absolutely.
now.
Because
right?
there's no time and space, and at the same time there's time and space.
Right. There we go. Well, and it's time for us to take a break while we process about time and space. This is great. Thanks, Atul. Welcome back. Well, I must say we are having a very interesting discussion on human consciousness. I feel like I'm interviewing Deepak Chopra here. Atul, thanks so much for being here, and let's just pick up where we left off. Now, I have to admit, when you were talking about bringing a greater awareness to yourself, I had a visual of, have you ever seen those videos in fast forward where you sort of see somebody maybe standing outside, and then all of a sudden it's like the camera goes and you see like the town, and then you see the country, and then you see the planet, and then you see the space, and it almost feels like that's the invitation, is you're asking or inviting people to start bringing that kind of awareness to their life.
Absolutely.
Does that
Yes.
feel true for you?
Yes, that is absolutely right. But I want to go a little bit more, because most of the therapeutic processes or meditations are so much working on having awareness or working on analytical mind. So they are forcing so much to live in good, live positive, it's all right. But you cannot avoid negative, because negative is inside you and positive is inside you.
Right.
So I have to start taking consciousness of positive and negative. it's like black and white. It's like day and night.
Right.
100% of day is death and 100% of hate is death.
Right.
100% of day is death, 100% of night is death. Let us say if we are only going to have day, then there is no night.
Right.
The planet is not going to work, and
Right.
vice versa. Likewise, 100% of love is death and 100% of hate is death. You love so much that you create hate, and then you hate so much, pick up a pistol, you kill other person, and you kill yourself, right? And you love so much, so what I was trying to say, you hate so much, you go to extreme of the hate, that you pick up a pistol like happening in USA, you kill others and you find a way to kill yourself. Or you love so much that you create that dependence, and if one person dies, other finds a reason to die. So like it happens in the Star Wars, that who was the Princess Leia, who died, her mother said, I want to die with my daughter, and after 3 days, she also died.
Right.
So love finds its balance in pain, in separation,
Okay.
and in hate. If you don't want to feel pain, don't love anyone.
Right. So you're putting value to the duality
Yes.
of the opposites that we have in our lives, you know.
Absolutely.
You can't have the highs without the lows.
Exactly.
You can't have the love without the hate. You can't have the light
Absolutely.
without the dark.
Absolutely.
Okay. Gotcha. So how does that involve or connect to healing? I mean, that's what you do. You help people heal. So take me from there.
People help themselves. I'm just a channel.
Okay. Right.
So taking that into account, again we have to go, which is the origin of human consciousness. So let us say when the spirit descends, at that time only as soon as the sperm goes and fertilizes egg, the spirit descends. So this is the experience of threesome. So spirit is becoming, which is our spiritual self, to get its own experience. Then psychological self is being created, the information which is coming from father's side, the sperm which is carrying, whether he is undesired or desired girl or boy child. And then the egg is bringing its own information. For mother it's an unwanted boy or girl, or unwanted and whatever, if they want other relatives, I want him to have blue eyes, or want to become such and such. So that baby has expectation. And then we have physical self, because I'm creating a body. So when there's a...
But you're saying, so unconsciously though, parents bring their
Yes.
ideas, their baggage, good and bad,
Absolutely.
to
Baby's mind.
Right, the conception of this child.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that becomes now, his whole life can go now around satisfying those needs, which we cannot access with analytical mind. We need to go those deeper processes, understand those processes, work with them, and then our life can be completely changed.
Okay.
So I have had clients where they knew when the sperm was moving, because sperm has consciousness, which is also part of my book. It knows whether he is rejected child or accepted child.
So, but if you have a client coming to you, say with an illness or something they want to heal, it's bringing, you help to bring them to the awareness of that this started in womb.
Exactly. Because what I have learned with my research, every war, every rape, every crime, everything you name, whether it's good or bad, beneath it there is only one thing: acceptance, lack of self-acceptance.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
once we start getting that acceptance through ourselves and not by expectations of others to get that acceptance, then we can heal anything. I have worked from simple anxiety to the schizophrenia, bipolar disorder with psychotic hallucination, and beneath it there has been only one purpose: self-acceptance.
Right. So the dysfunction is coming out of a lack of self-acceptance.
Yes.
From the perpetrator or the person who's
Absolutely.
suffering. So connect to me then, how does a patient's awareness of their in-womb experience, how does that help them to heal themselves?
We can talk about a case which is also part of my book. So I have this client who had benign tumor. She was 37 years old and it was 2 mm in pituitary gland. It was a benign tumor, so those who have benign tumor, they live like natural person, they die like natural person, but they have to take medication. So her prolactin was very high, it was 200, which is, it means definitely a tumor in woman's body. So when she was 7 months old, so she was an unwanted child. She was, so mother wanted to get separated from the father. So father like sends a sperm with the idea that she is going to get pregnant and not going to live. So now she is accepted child from father's side, but now mother gets pregnant, she cannot get separated, so that girl feels that she is rejected from the mother. So her mother is very anxious, very, very nervous. So in the 7th month she says, oh, my mother is nervous, what I'm doing here, I am here to see the world. So she decides to take birth. So as soon as she starts coming out, she remembered that mother got agreed with the doctor that children should be born after 9 months. If she is going to born premature, she might born without some part of her body. So when she remembered the conversation, now she wants to go back because she has a fear. If she is not complete, she is already rejected, then her siblings and parents are also going to reject her more. So she does a suicide attempt. So she turns around and hits the back of our neck with the mother pelvic bone, because when she's dead, nothing. But in that turning, she hits the pituitary gland, which is this part here. But she came out, all right. But in 37 years of her age, she creates that tumor. And when she comes to know, her tumor disappeared. And I remember his doctor was very orthodox. He said, see how the medication work. And she said, yes. But her gynecologist were a bit more open. He said, I know that you are, I know that this is 1 in millions case, but I know it's not your case. What else you have been doing? And then she talks about that process. So
okay. We will continue this incredible conversation when we come back from break. You're tuned into Awakening Within, and you need to be awake to grasp the powerful insight my guest is sharing with us today. Atul, I must say, this topic fascinates me. Before the break, we were talking about a patient who came to you with a tumor, and you helped her to reconnect or bring a level of consciousness to her in vitro experience, so when she's in her mother's womb.
Yeah.
And how what happened in her mother's womb and during the birthing process affected and contributed to creating this tumor. Now, what I want to make clear is sometimes when people hear this stuff, first of all, it can sound a little woo-woo, but second of all, I want to make sure that we're relaying this message correctly, that you're not suggesting that she's to blame in any way.
No, not at all.
Or neither are the parents.
Absolutely. Actually, no mother is bad, because without her, we wouldn't be here today.
Right.
So there is no such thing, beautiful things as parents. What happened at that time, she doesn't have, because if mother is feeling depression, mother is feeling sadness, that baby doesn't have a mind of an adult which can differentiate between depression and sadness, that depression, sadness is good or bad. Right. So she feels it like kind of natural way. That's her own interpretation, which she perceived because she doesn't have an intellectual mind of an adult.
Right.
So that's why that becomes like kind of ways of connecting with mother, and then in most of the cases the person now creates situations of depression or sadness which he felt during mother's womb, and they create those situations in their adult life because that is their unconscious way of connecting with mother, and that creates kinds of false security. So once we work with it, now they can differentiate, oh, I'm not my mother. I am myself. I created that situation, but my mother has got nothing to do with it. My father has got nothing to do with it. So they do not blame them, but they come more closer. And
So
that
just understand how you
Yes.
came to have this interpretation,
Exactly.
this story, this
Yes.
perception.
Absolutely.
And this perception, this story is kind of what drives our life
There you are.
unconsciously, because we're
Yes.
not aware of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, hidden mind. Let us call it hidden mind, which we
Okay.
cannot access. Let us say we don't remember what we lived 10 years back.
Right.
But
Or I mean,
it's-
we don't even remember, we don't remember being in the womb. We don't remember
Exactly.
our birth,
Yes.
even though we were there. Right. And so, but this all still, you're saying, almost like starts to hardwire or program us.
Yes.
And so we interpret the sort of unconsciousness of us interprets an experience, takes on messages, and beliefs, and then that's what
Absolutely.
drives our life.
Absolutely.
So then we can find ourselves in a state of dis-ease,
Yes.
right?
Disease, exactly. Disease,
right?
absolutely.
Because we're at dis-ease in something in our life,
Yes.
and often not even aware of it.
Exactly.
So then you're helping patients sort of take them back to walk through this so that they can be free of it, or they can have a new perception.
Actually, what exactly is freedom? Freedom is
Okay.
nothing but understanding of my past. Because in all the meditations, etc., what they're doing, they are telling to leave the past aside, but you cannot close the closet of unconsciousness.
Right.
The more you work with it, better you are complete. That's why we have possibilities to say goodbye to cancers, to AIDS, and other diseases. And there has been scientific evidence and research in Germany, let us say in Ecuador, and I have been witness of those miracles created by the person himself, nobody else. I am just the channel. The person decides, I created this disease, and now I have freedom not to have it, but live differently.
Right.
Because disease is nothing but the unconscious part, unconscious language of your body, and according to body point of view, this is health, but analytical point of view, it's not health. Your body is trying to say something to you.
Right.
Once you understand that language, it brings into complete harmony.
Right.
So that energy, because we need to understand those malignant connections which were created, interpreted by my limited mind, and thus my life at present is suffering, although I feel that I am living a very, very free life, but those parts are driving me and creating all these situations.
Right. So really it comes back to us having a complete different perception around disease or illness to begin
Absolutely.
with. Because, you know, if we're trying to just treat symptoms or treat an illness like cancer, you know, we have more and more research and more money thrown at it, and yet cancer is still at a, you know, booming, alarming rate.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that it's about refocusing and realizing that the person doesn't need to be, their cancer doesn't need to be treated. They need help in understanding the connection between how they manifest illness,
Absolutely.
and then empower them to, you know, whatever you create, then you can also, if you create illness, that means you can also create health.
Yeah, you can see now, look at Mother Teresa. Her whole life was to help others, but we came to know that she suffered clinical depression, and one of the very close person to her, she wrote, I'm the dark angel, I will never get a place in heaven. So she was trying to fill that black hole emptiness by helping others. Look at Bruce Lee, let us say, who was the healthiest person of the world and died in 32 years of his age. So something happened unconsciously there which created those situations. If we can access to those parts and bring out, and recently I came to know that somebody was telling that Mother Teresa's, one of his parents died when she was 8 years old. So that impacted her life. So we need to understand, we need to go more deeper. We cannot just, you know, keep on looking for hiding the symptoms, and then symptom is going to come back.
Right. And that would explain why a lot of people do have reoccurring illnesses over and over again. They address the symptoms temporarily,
Yes.
but if you don't address the deep
Seeds.
seeds of what created it,
Yes.
it's just going to keep recreating.
Or it will calm down, but it might can appear in something else. It can be a fatal accident.
Right.
Because symptoms can shift from physical level to mental level and vice versa. And this is a research done by Dr. Werner Meinhold in Germany, which supports a lot of evidence.
Right. Right.
So all this is connected with the human consciousness.
So how do you then, we only have a couple minutes left, but how do you assist people in making like this connection? Back to your example of this woman who comes in, how were you able to pull out this information that she wouldn't have even been consciously aware of?
Yes, so this is the therapeutic process. This is the technique developed by Dr. Werner Meinhold, the integrative therapy of depth psychology, because depth psychology deals with unconscious behaviors and attitude. So person is relaxed, 90% work is of client, 10% is only mine. He finds subconsciously automatically his problem, and he uses his rational mind to get, we use sense of telepathy, which is also part of my book, and then we have that director thing. So then the person comes to know that he created that 50% of experience and the other person created that 50% of experience. So they both created a role, and once he understands his role, that trauma is released. Any trauma, how severe it may be, it can be resolved in 3 sessions if there is no unconscious resistance. Because my resistance, my disease somehow creates a security. At the same time, it works as a mask so that I'm not going to process my deep psyche wounds, which are under lock and key in our unconscious basement.
Right. Well, I just recently read about how illness can really be like a cry for help or cry for attention, not consciously, but again, so there could be an unconscious resistance to healing.
Absolutely. I have recently wrote an article, The Need for Disease, and this topic is going internationally, welcomed by going to one mental health as a keynote speaker in Vancouver, and I have invited with Howard University and other parts to go and speak, but there was no time. So now they're understanding that because it's creating curiosity, the need for disease, that because the person creates disease by himself, inside him, it's not like that, behave yourself or I will give you my cancer.
Right, 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 exactly. By themselves, for themselves.
Yes, everything is you.
Everything is you. Well, thank you, Atul, for coming in.
Yep.
Great discussion. I think we could be here all day,
Yes.
but maybe we'll have you back and we'll continue this discussion on the power of human consciousness. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you have found this helpful in being able to heal different areas of your life. And if you need more information, don't hesitate to pick up Atul's book, The Unseen Wisdom of the Unborn. Thank you so much.